like to call this board meeting of the Village of Sugar Grove to order. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If we could have roll call, please. Manny.
President Stillwell.
Here.
Trustee Lundy.
Here.
Trustee Bonnie.
Here.
Trustee Michaels.
Here.
Trustee Special.
Here.
Trustee London. Here. Trustee Roscoff.
Thank you. Public hearing, we have none this evening, no proclamations and no presentations. We have appointments, and Scott can answer questions regarding appointments. The first is a recommendation to approve the reappointment of Julio Calabrese to the Board of Police Commissioners. Is there a motion and a second to discuss and vote on item 7A?
I'll make a motion to make that appointment.
We have a first from trustee Michaels. Is there a second?
Second.
And we have a second from trustee Bonnie. Is there any discussion? If we could have roll call, please, Manny.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee London.
Aye.
Trustee Special.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and Julio Calabrese is appointed to the Board of Police Commissioners. Up next, we have a recommendation to approve the reappointment of Dave Kins to the Police Pension Board. Is there a motion and a second to discuss and vote on item 7B, reappointing David Kins to the Police Pension Board?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first from trustee Michaels. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second from trustee Bonnie. Is there any discussion? If we could have roll call, please, Manny.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee London.
Aye.
Trustee Special.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and David Kintz is appointed to the Police Pension Board. Up next, we have a recommendation to approve the reappointment of Jonathan Barretts to the Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals. Is there a motion and a second to discuss and vote on item 7C?
Make the motion.
We have a first from trustee Bonnie. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second from trustee Special. Is there any discussion? If we could have roll call, please, Maddie.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Trustee Special.
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee London.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and Jonathan Barretts is reappointed to the Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals. Up next, we have a recommendation to reappoint Robert Earhart to the Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals. Is there a motion and a second to discuss and vote on item 7D?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first from trustee Lundy. Is there a second?
I'll make the second then.
And we have a second from trustee London. Is there any discussion? If we could have roll call, please, Maddie.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee London.
Aye.
Trustee Special.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and Robert Earhart is reappointed to the Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals. Up next, we have airport report from trustee Special.
No report.
All right, I have a quick question. I saw there was, an accident just recently with a student. Was anyone injured, or is everyone all right?
I believe the police department posted a press release on that.
It was a light aircraft. Chief, could you go up to the mic? I apologize. I didn't get on the recording. Good evening. It was a small light student pilot plane that was doing practicing takeoffs and landings at the airport. The plane originated out of Clow International Airport in Bolingbrook. The instructor was on the ground, which is typical for this type of stage where they're at. So the student pilot was by himself and just had a hard landing and damaged the front of the fuselage, the wheel, and the propeller. So no injuries were reported. He walked away from the scene.
Good, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
If the trustees don't mind, for public comment on scheduled action items, we have resident here who would like to speak, regarding the Hankins Road Bridge. We're wondering if we could have a motion and a second to discuss on all items, for number 9 instead of only scheduled action items.
I'll make that motion to change public comments to all items.
We have, first from trustee Michaels, is there a second?
Second.
And a second from, trustee Special. If we can have roll call, please, ma'am.
Trustee Michaels,
Aye.
trustee Special,
Aye.
trustee Lundy,
Aye.
trustee London,
Aye.
trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it, and the public comment, will be on all items. Cindy Coverly, if you would like to step up.
I'm concerned about the condition of the Hankins Road Bridge, goes over Highway 56. After conversations with our village administrator, the Township of Sugar Grove Road District, the dispatcher at IDOT, and our state representative, I am confused as to which entity has the responsibility for repairing the deck surface of the bridge. What does the village plan to do about repairs?
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll call the names, that are signed up for public comment, and then you can either step up now or you can speak at the later public comment. Gary, sorry, Gary Thompson.
I know the strategic planning wasn't on the agenda again today, but disappointment was my life. I'm talking about the Hankins Bridge also. No new news regarding the condition of the bridge. Its condition is well known, and we are now operating in a reactive firefighting mode rather than pursuing a coordinated solution. In social media posts, public complaints, blame shifting, and raised expectations appear almost daily. Meanwhile, the involved agencies continue to follow conflicting legal opinions as their attorneys cannot agree on responsibility. The next step is yet another meeting between the village and the township, and I think that's tomorrow, in an attempt to reach an agreement that can be forwarded to IDOT for approval. How long that process will take is uncertain, and there's no guarantee that an agreement will even be reached. In the meantime, the holes get bigger. Unfortunately, recent actions have not helped. The demeaning emails directed at the Illinois Director of Transportation, especially those copying numerous unrelated individuals, have likely compounded IDOT's reluctance to cooperate, now and in the future. IDOT has already declined to attend the upcoming Springfield meeting in Sugar Grove, if Sugar Grove is present. Litigating disputes on social media and sending personal accusatory communications is unprofessional and undermines intergovernmental cooperation. Meanwhile, the bridge remains in a dangerous condition. There is significant risk of vehicle damage and potential bodily harm. I'm assuming everybody agrees with that. A decisive leader would either close the bridge immediately or direct Public Works to go ahead and implement temporary repairs without delay. Concerns about liability have reportedly prevented such action. However, in the event of litigation, it is likely that all three agencies would be named parties in any litigation, regardless of which entity steps forward to make temporary repairs. Social media may be an effective for campaigning, but it's not an effective tool for governance. Moving forward, I suggest appointing a seasoned trustee as the village point person and lead negotiator. A new strategy and a more professional approach is needed. We have plenty of people on the board that can fill that role. Let's patch the bridge tomorrow and continue working toward a long-term solution thereafter. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gary. We're actually, I think, close to an agreement, the first agreement in 37 years, so I believe I'm a fine negotiator. Thank you.
Are you talking back to me?
I
don't
responded.
I don't think you're supposed to respond, but that's okay.
Louis, would you like to step up?
Lou Lendy, Sugar Grove, same disclaimer every time, my opinions are my own, not necessarily those of trustee Lendy. So it was about a year and a half ago, I got up in front of one of these meetings, a much larger crowd, and I criticized then President Jan Konen about her negotiations with Crown. And I urged the board to vote against the development. I said to her that the village's demands were too timid and that our concessions were too generous. And I told her that she didn't seem to understand just how strong the village's hand was. But now it seems we have the opposite problem. The current president seems to be laboring under the delusion that it's still August 2024, and that she holds the same cards the village held back then. She does not. That hand has been played, and the cards we now hold are much, much weaker. And Crown knows this. That said, it doesn't really matter what Sue believes, because what happens next is up to the board, not the village president. So I'd like to give two pieces of advice to the board. The first comes from a guy you've probably heard of, Stephen Covey, the 7 Habits guy. One of the 7 habits is always begin with the end in mind. In other words, before you cast your vote, make sure you understand and you know what you're trying to accomplish with that vote. Are you trying to ensure that the Crown development is as good as possible for the benefit of Sugar Grove? Are you trying to drive Crown out of Sugar Grove? Or is it something else? It really doesn't matter. What matters is that you know what your end goal is and that you're honest with yourself and the public about it. Of course, just knowing what you want to accomplish doesn't mean that you actually can't accomplish that with a vote. So the next piece of advice I would give is a little more colorful, and it comes from my grandmother. When my sister and I were little, we used to whine and nag. My grandmother would say, "You're going to have to do better than that. Hemorrhoid never killed anyone." The idea being, of course, that you're not going to persuade anybody by just being a pain in the butt. You need more than that. So, if there are genuine, honest-to-goodness, material deficiencies in the plat that you're being asked to approve, then by all means, you must vote against it and force Crown to mediate it. And you should make full use of any and all advantages that that process provides. However, if there are not any genuine, honest-to-goodness material deficiencies, there's no real red meat there, only typos and Scrivener's errors, then a vote against is just an irritant that further sours the relationship between the village and the developer. We are never, understand, never going to annoy Crown into doing what we want. And trying to do so only exposes us to litigation that we will lose. So the village is counting on the 6 of you to choose our battles wisely. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Mondi.
I'll wait.
Okay. Jaden Chetta.
Jaden Chadda, Blackberry Township. I'd like to state that there are a lot of people who are confused by a certain trustee who seemingly defends Crown to a fault despite voting against the project. What Crown is asking you to do by rushing the subdivision puts the village at risk. Crown is taking advantage of the atrocious contract that it entered with the last village board. Aren't there clauses in that contract that allow the village to take certain actions to protect its interests when at risk? As I stated after Crown left the last meeting, Crown and the village need to figure out who future residents are going to sue when their basements flood. Crown is pressuring the board to approve this subdivision, yet the village itself has identified risks. I'm guessing Crown will threaten breach if not approved, but again, the village is at risk. So who gets sued if the basements flood? Crown for pressuring the village or the village for approving it? Are you trustees willing to risk a Mallard Point 2.0? These problems would not be occurring if the project had been denied in the first place or the project had advanced like every other project currently going on in the village. This is the only subdivision that received special treatment and was approved prior to engineering completion, which is clearly a mistake since the village engineer, Kimley Horn, and DEI missed key issues that were only caught by the village president. Addressing these risks is not obstruction or delay, it's responsible governance and basic risk management. At the last meeting, we heard Crown, specifically Dan Olson, that there is less water runoff than there was prior to breaking ground in Area 1. The entire point of having the TIF is to decrease water runoff that contributes to downstream flooding. I'm going to restate something that I repeated many times throughout the hearings. How do you know? How does Crown know there is less water runoff than there was previously? There was never a baseline measurement of water taken prior to TIF approval. So when Crown claims there is less runoff, less than what exactly? What data is that claim based on? I don't have those numbers, but what I do have is a set of eyes and photographed evidence showing very minimal runoff prior to groundbreaking that can be independently verified by looking at Google Maps and historical street view photos. After groundbreaking, they had water pumps running nearly 24/7, discharging the water under the street and into the forest preserve. There was so much additional water that Crown had to enter into a formal agreement with the forest preserve for the management of the stormwater. It's important to note that stormwater does not mean groundwater. In fact, the agreement conveniently categorizes the issue as stormwater, despite groundwater clearly being a major component. This occurred during a drought year, and there is still an abundance of water. The agreement states that the level spreader that they are using is a device that converts high energy, high velocity flow into sheet flow. My question is simple. Why is the flow now high velocity at all? The answer is obvious. There's more water. It's groundwater. They haven't even built anything yet, paved roads or anything. It's not stormwater. One last thing. I don't know who's responsible for reviewing this or whether it's even permissible, but if Crown is paying Kimley Hornigan to revise or correct that plat, it should not be treated as a TIF-eligible expense. Crown should not be able to recover interest or reimbursement through the TIF for costs that are the result of their own mistakes. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaden. I have no one else signed up for this public comment. You'd like to
Do
go
we have to
first?
sign up or?
No, you can start.
Okay, great. So I have absolutely nothing prepared. I haven't been to a board meeting in years. My name is Millie Molitor. I've lived in the village for 24 years now. I know most of the people on the board, not the newer ones. You know, I decided to speak because I love what Lou said. I had to laugh when Jaden got up to speak, not because of anything that he said, or not because I think he's wrong or right, but because he's not a Village of Sugar Grove resident. And when it comes to the Crown development, they're building in the Village of Sugar Grove. So if there is a vote to be had tonight, what y'all need to think about is the residents that you were elected to serve, which are the residents of Sugar Grove, which is me, and I don't know, 10,000 other people. So the limited number of people that decided to vote last year doesn't mean anything. You're all sitting up there to do what's best for this town, and I'm telling you what, whether you agree with Crown, whether you don't, and I'm aware of everything that's been going on. I'm not ignorant to the knowledge, I'm just not on Facebook anymore. If you don't approve this tonight, the village will be sued. You will destroy Sugar Grove. We will not have any more developers that are even remotely interested in coming here, because they know what will happen if you don't like it, or if you're not willing to negotiate, or whatever the case may be. Crown will sue the Village of Sugar Grove, and we will be responsible for paying those litigation costs, not Crown. So take that into consideration when you're voting. I believe that the vote is tonight. You all serve the residents of Sugar Grove, not Blackberry Township. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment at this time?
You talking or not?
I'll say mine now.
Okay.
Alright. Since everybody threw their stuff out there. My name is Bob Ramondi. I've been to a bunch of these before, and I've talked against Crown and many things. My background is engineering. I was self-employed for 25 years with my own company. I've done everything worked with everything from nuclear power plants to subdivisions. I've done a ton of stuff. I've done surveys, I've done plots and everything. And I looked at the stuff that's been posted out there, and in the grand scheme of things, the plant that they've got, it works. It flows, the catch basins do their job. The issue comes in is that the west catch basin, detention basin, whichever, is very close to the houses in the first lots, 1 through 8, 12, whatever. And when you're at the high water line, you are literally at the bottom of the basements. Will we have issues, hydrostatic problems? More than likely if we have a lot of water out there. I looked at all the soil borings. The problem you have with soil boring drawing right now is the fact that it is 21 years old and nobody's physically put it out there saying what the water levels are in there right now. It's changed over 21 years. I've lived here for 40 years, so I know different areas. In the grand scheme of things though, with what they've got, and where they hit water already, it was evident on the soil borings. But when you look at soil borings and the stratifications below the first 3 feet, the first 3 feet meet the 3,000 pound load per 3,000 square foot loading, okay? But as soon as you do mass grading, it's gone. You're into the sublayers now. The sublayers are loose, silty stuff in most of the soil borings. You have water in a lot of the soil borings. You have saturated, different varies of saturation, which all has to be pulled down, refilled, structural fill, proof rolled, brought back to 95% Proctor wherever there's a structure or a road. So that's a lot of work and a lot of fill. going over everything else on the site, you're looking at anywhere from 8 to 12, 13 feet of fill that has to be brought in to get it to the foundation levels at the driveways, okay? So you are gonna have to proof roll and get all that to structural stability. If you do not get that, and it is not good through the whole thing, you're gonna have subsidence on the ground all around the foundations. You could have flexing on foundation, basement floors. Hydrostatic pressure is just gonna push it even worse. And if we get a very wet year, what is gonna happen with the groundwater? So in the grand scheme of things, it looks good, but you're setting yourself up for issues down the road. All of these foundations are gonna be perched above grade and filled up to those and then filled up to the foundation line. So it is a ton of fill that's gotta be brought in and compacted again. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. All right, is there anyone else who wants to speak at this public comment?
What I think this has been about is the certainty of the safety for the village and to make sure that our interests are covered. I know in the agreements with Crown, they have pretty much locked everything down on zoning approvals and their rights to do this and that, but also in on .32 on page 7 of the annexation agreement, the one clause that is Illinois law is that due to public safety, the village has the right to make any changes they deem necessary. So they do have a right for that. I think there's enough evidence that's been produced over the years with the agencies that are approved, such as the CMAP report that says it's sensitive ground out there. The Kane DuPage soil report that says there are many issues with that property as far as safety to homes with basements and water levels. I have a water table chart here from Kane DuPage, and in that series that we're talking, or that area we're talking about right now, says the wetness from the seasonal high water table, especially home sites with or without basements, septic absorption fields, commercial buildings and roads and streets are highly vulnerable. It says the soil survey indicates that seasonal high water table at a depth of 1/2 foot to 2 3/4 feet. Now that's in spring and early summer. My issue is, why don't we slow down and require some studies that give us certainty on that? As Bob said, the borings are 18, 21 years old, whatever. We need some new proof that everything going forward will be safe so that the village doesn't suffer suits by individuals or someone that is harmed later on. And my grandmother told me that an ounce of prevention was worth a pound of problems. So that's what we're looking for. And as far as the previous administration, there were a lot of things that were just done wrong. And, you know, if you got a couple hours and want to sit down, we can discuss it. But it is what it is, so we still have to make sure for the safety. I don't think it's anything other than that. For the safety of the village and its residents and future residents, that this thing is done properly. And I think there were a lot of things that were just scammed over, or I'm sorry, I didn't mean scam, skimmed over because of Jen Conan's cooperation and ability to allow it. So that's it.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at this public comment? All right, hearing none, we will close public comment at this time. Up next, we have the consent agenda. We have approval of the February 17th, 2026 Village Board meeting minutes, approval of the vouchers, a resolution approving an agreement with Lauterbach and Eman for audit services. Up next, or also in general business, we have a resolution approving a plat utility easement for Sugar Grove LLC, a resolution approving a boundary agreement with the Village of Elburn, a resolution approving the purchase of bulk rock salt, and a resolution approving the 2025 annual road program change order number 1 and final payment. Would anyone like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Is there a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a first from trustee Michaels. Is there a second?
Second.
And we have a second from trustee Special. If we can have roll call, please, Maddie.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Special.
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee London.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
The ayes have it and the consent agenda is approved. Before moving on to the general business items, we will be entering into executive session. Can I have a motion and a second to enter executive session to discuss litigation 5 ILCS 122C11?
I make that motion.
We have a motion from trustee Lundy. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second from trustee Michaels. If we could have roll call, please, Maddie.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee London.
Aye.
Trustee Special.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it, and we will enter executive session at this time.
My apologies to everybody, but we don't have additional room available for executive session tonight because of the election that early voting is being held here at the library. There was no rooms available, so we have to ask everyone that is not a trustee or attorney for the village board or staff that's been asked to stay to step out into the library, and Chief will help collect everybody to bring you back when we are back in open session.
All right, may I have a motion and a second to reconvene the March 3rd, 2026 village board meeting?
I'll second.
I have a first from trustee Special and a second from trustee Michaels. If we could have roll call, please, Maddie.
Trustee Special.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee London.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
All right, up next, we have our first item of general business, a resolution approving a plat utility easement for Sugar Grove LLC. Is there a motion and a second to discuss and vote on item 12A, a resolution approving a plat utility easement for Sugar Grove LLC?
I make the motion.
We have, first from trustee Bonnie. Is there a
No.
second?
Oh.
I think we.
I thought we.
Trustee.
Are you, are you moving on the original item, or are you moving?
No,
on the-
I need,
rescind
I
my,
need a second, and then
okay.
Danny will present.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I'm confused too. Let's clear that up, so
Yeah.
make sure we're clean on it.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen of the board, James Caselli for the record, we are, can you hear me? You can hear me, all right?
Turn it on.
I think we have a.
Turn it on, I think it's off.
There's a
Hello.
Wow. We have a supplemental item that would meet the requirements of the Open Meetings Act. This is germane to those items that were listed 48 hours before there. Trustee Bonnie, I believe the motion would be one that was prepared by trustee London, and I believe prepared to be seconded by trustee Lundy. Madam Chair, I believe that's correct? Do you have
Yes.
anything you want to add? Thank you.
just leave it on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, wait.
So just for clarification, is it best to make the motion off the top, or have a motion to discuss first and then have a motion to approve that's Nora's motion?
I mean, for discussion purposes, to have Danny introduce the item and just general discussion, maybe move it to the floor and
Okay.
have trustee Leonard make her motion after that.
Okay, wait. So I was gonna have a motion and a second to discuss and vote on the item, and then, Nora, hold on 1 second, please, let me speak. And then Nora was going to modify the motion, get the first and the second, and then we open discussion. Can we do that? Okay, so, is there a motion and a second to discuss on 12A?
Motion.
Motion from trustee Bonnie. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from trustee Michaels. Did you want to modify the motion?
I have a motion to modify this as a motion to adopt a revised plat of easement conditional upon the developer presenting a corrected plat of subdivision to be executed and recorded by appropriate village officials without further action or approval by the village board, including but not limited to those listed on the Kimley Horn Certificate of Correction and a list of corrective items from the village.
Is there a motion and a second, a motion and a second to discuss on the amended motion?
second for that amended motion?
I
Second
make
for the
a
amended motion.
second for that amended motion. Do I need to read the whole thing, or?
No.
Okay.
All right, we have a second for the amended motion from trustee Lundy. Is there any, Danielle Marion will present this item.
You have before you tonight the resolution approving a plat of easements for the Grove Area 1. This item was discussed at the previous board meeting, and there were several, the discussion centered around several errors that were found on the plat of subdivision. And so it was requested of the applicants that they prepare a certificate of correction, correcting the errors that were identified in the plat of subdivision prior to approving the plat of easements, and the item was continued to tonight. Before you, we have a revised plat of easements for the Grove Area 1, and I actually sent out a revised plat this afternoon and printed them for you that has the Fox Metro certificates on them. There are also 2 minor clerical errors on the plat that was presented at the last meeting that they corrected. And you have a red lined copy in your meeting packet tonight. So before you, you have the revised plat of easements for approval tonight, and staff is recommending approval.
Is there any discussion?
Madam President, could the village attorney explain to the audience what the motion that was made by trustee London means?
So, first of all, to begin with, the item for consideration before the board is the resolution in the packet on page 11, if everyone wants to follow along. Anytime that the board authorizes action, a lot of that time what they will do is have various other actions authorized as well. So for example, the meat tonight of what the issue is, the board of trustees is basically approving, and the village president and the village clerk are hereby directed to execute said plat, and the village clerk is hereby directed to record said plat on behalf of the village. That was the original action that was going to be authorized. Trustee London actually came and we amended basically that action. So what's gonna be happening is that the board in the village is approving the plat, but it's requiring that the various corrections that have been listed, and I'm sorry, what are we referencing them as? The 2 lists of corrections.
Kimberly Horn, certificate of correction and list of corrective items from the village.
Okay, those will have to be corrected in order for this plat to be finalized and recorded. It's approved tonight, subject to those corrections being done, and then it will be approved and recorded. Okay, so we're changing the authorization that was originally in the packet to the directive of trustee London's motion.
No, yeah, that's somewhere.
I'm sorry, I think you were making corrections to the plat that was previously approved by the board, not the one that's before you tonight.
My apologies, that's correct, as Attorney Mays is saying, correct, I'm sorry, right. So, the item tonight is going to be approved subject to the corrections, the plat of easements.
The corrections we made to the
Right.
original plat that was approved by the village board on April 23rd, 2025.
Without, subject to village approval,
Right.
further
Right.
village.
The authorization is, tonight we'll vote to approve, the corrections will need to be made. It will not come back to the village board.
I appreciate this very much. I think we came in here tonight on 2 very different pages. The developer did not want to do a new Area 1 plat. The village very much wanted to follow administrative code. And the recorder had also expressed that a new document should be prepared. I just want to thank Nora again for coming up with an excellent compromise, and I'm glad to see that the village and Crown could come to a compromise on this. We look forward to a new corrected plat, and I think that will benefit people for decades to come. Every time they put up a fence or go to modify anything, there'll be clear lot lines, clear dimensions, clear easements. It benefits everybody to do things the right way, so. Is there any
Call
other
a vote.
discussion? If we can have a vote, please, Maddie.
Trustee London,
Aye.
trustee Lundy,
Aye.
trustee Special,
Aye.
trustee Michaels,
Aye.
trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the modified motion for item 12A is approved. All right. Up next, we have
that motion.
We have a first from trustee Michaels. Is there a second?
I'll make that second.
We have a second from trustee Lundy. Scott Keppel will be presenting this item.
Thank you. We've been working to get a boundary agreement with Elburn. It is the only boundary agreement that the village doesn't currently have. Elburn presented this, this item was discussed previously by the village board. There was a request to have Nottingham Woods and Willow Creek, some unincorporated neighborhoods, excluded from the agreement. And then it was discussed last night at the Elburn village board meeting. So I have an update that came in this afternoon to me. One of the trustees pushed for Green Road to serve as the line east of Route 47. The others concurred. Their administrator was directed to counter with Green Road. However, that is not what is in your packet tonight. That is not what was previously agreed upon. And staff from the village of Sugar Grove is recommending that we do not adopt that this was a point of contention from before. I'm recommending that the board tonight vote on the version that is in your packet, not to amend it, to change it to Green Road. I think the reopener clause at Main Street that was negotiated by our village president and the village president of Elburn is a better solution than having it be Green Road. So I would recommend that you approve the version as your packet tonight. However, I did want to let you know about the discussion that happened at Elburn. They did not approve it either way, but they asked their administrator to send that information to me. So I'm happy to answer questions about the boundary agreement. EEI did a wonderful job putting together the legal description and the map that are exhibits in your packet. It is for your approval tonight.
I would go along with Elburn's modification. There's really, I don't see us ever going that far north, and the property that would be north and west of Green Road is either forest preserve or large lots. There's a small road in there that we wouldn't want to have to take over and maintain. So I think going with the modification is adequate in my opinion.
Just to clarify, who was it that requested the modification?
One of the trustees from Elburn brought the idea up, and then the rest of the trustees concurred that they would prefer it to be Green Road.
And Attorney Brian just asked, Green Road's this road that's to the right where it says
Leave the
R.
map up, please.
Yeah, there you go. Can you follow that road, Maddie? Up, go up with your cursor and over. Yeah, that's Green Road. Down, 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 right there.
So this is Green Road?
Yeah.
Right here?
Yeah.
This is Main, this is 47. The dark line is what's proposed in your packet today and what we had discussed before. Elburn asked to have it be Green Road, so then all of this would be,
might want to show them where the forest preserve property is, 3 large parcels. It's that one, yeah, the 2 adjacent parcels.
Question, from what I see for our future land use map, that this lines up with it, is that correct?
I believe it does. That was the discussion at the time. However, there is economic development opportunity at Main and 47 was the reason to try to have that as a potential.
So this matches up with our future land use?
Yes, and our future land use map was more of what we would like to have
Right,
happen
right,
because we
right.
didn't have, otherwise reflects our existing boundary agreements with every
Right.
other community.
Right, so I just.
Thank you.
So we have a motion made and a motion second. And Sean, did you make the original motion?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so then you would have to amend your motion if that's what you're
Okay.
recommending.
My motion to.
Does everyone want the trustees version, or does anyone want the original version? Is in the packet, is recommended by our village administrator and the 2 village presidents. Which do you prefer?
I want it the way it's originally put in the packet. That's what staff is recommending, correct?
Yes, I think there is economic development opportunity in Main and 47. That would be why we would include it.
So maybe we go on the way in the packet, the way that's shown in the packet first then. Okay.
If there's another trustee to second it.
Albert does, yes, the intent would be that we would tell them we passed it as presented in the packet. I'll report back to the Albert administrator, and then he can let his board know, and then they'll have to make a decision on what they would like to do.
So this wasn't seconded yet, so let's just vote on the first one.
Well, do you wanna make the formal motion, or do you wanna withdraw it?
Oh.
To use Green Line, or Green Road as the line?
I'll go with the first motion to,
Okay.
as exhibited.
Matt, is there any other discussion? Okay. Maddie, if we could have a roll call on, the original motion presented as in the packet.
Trustee Michaels?
No.
Trustee Lendy?
Yes.
Trustee London?
Aye.
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Okay, the ayes have it, and, the motion passes as shown in the packet. So, I imagine we don't need to vote on this
No.
because it's
No,
impossible.
no,
Okay.
it can go
Okay.
back to Auburn, they can,
Yeah, and then
if they don't approve it, then
We'll do
it
it.
comes back, yeah.
I'll make the motion that we approve and discuss the purchase of bulk rock salt.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, can we have roll call, please, Minnie? I'm sorry. Brad Merkel will be presenting this item.
This is our, housekeeping deal where we have to commit to purchasing salt with the Illinois State Joint Purchasing deal. So we need to go by April 15th if we wanna join it, because they usually bid it in like June or July. They don't really give you hard dates, just give you dates when you have to sign a commitment. So we really don't know the pricing, but historically it's been better than anywhere else.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
Brett, if you could just mention with this agreement for perhaps with the new trustees that, there's a certain amount we have to buy no matter what, and there's a cap we can buy up to.
Yeah, it's an 80-120 kind of deal, so you have to buy at least 80%. If you tell them 1,000 tons, you gotta have at least 800, or you can buy up to 120. So we typically take the 120 route, just, so you still have to buy the 100%, but you have a limit, you go up, so if you run it short, just depends on the season. It's kind of a gamble. Tony knows, we've done it for a long time.
How is our salt this year?
We have probably like 800 tons left, and we've bought all of our salt for this year. But we started with everything completely full after a light year last year, so the plan is to be able to refill next year. So,
Thank you. Is there any discussion, any other discussion? If we could have roll call, please, Manny.
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Lendy?
Aye.
Trustee London? Aye. Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the resolution approving the purchase of bulk rock salt is approved. Up next, we have a resolution approving the 2025 annual road program change order number 1 and final payment. Is there a motion and a second to discuss and vote on item 12B?
Make the motion.
We have a first from trustee Special, is there a second?
Second.
And a second from trustee Michaels, and Brad will also be presenting this item.
this is just closing out the 2025 road program. We had a change order, $29,772.40, or I guess it would be 4.68% of the total project. A lot of that came from undercuts, because it was in the older part of town where the pavement had failed, and the additional concrete and patching, so, it's a very fair change order based on the size of the project. And then this will close the project out, other than retainage, so.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? If we could have roll call, please, Manny.
Trustee Special?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee Lendy?
Aye.
Trustee London?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the resolution approving the 2025 annual road program, change order number 1 and final payment is approved. Would anyone like to make a public comment at this time? Yes, thank you.
I'm not gonna talk about Crown. Sorry, I didn't realize that your boundary was going to be trying to push to that intersection there. I own the property on the west side of 47 in Maine, and the property on the east side was slated for a gas station, mini mart, and everything else several years ago. And we pulled together a bunch of people to fight that down, but it turns out that the county will not allow it, neither will IDOT, because of the grade elevation and cuts that need to be done for that property to allow an in and out on Main, off of Main and or Route 47 because of the distances required. So depending upon what type of business you are intending to think you could put there, it's extremely limited. I've already spoken with the Forest Preserve District about preserving all those trees, since they own all the Forest Preserve property behind it, and there's only 3 open lots left that could be encompassed into the Forest Preserve at some point in time in the future. So those are 200-year-old oak trees and black walnut trees that are that whole stand. I mean, I tried to buy the property originally from the woman that owned it. At the time, she wouldn't split it though. So Tim over here in Sugar Grove bought that whole chunk of property. Right now, it's still in contention as to what can happen to it, and I've pretty much kept in contact with the county, and they will let me know anything that's intended to go onto that property. Because originally, that was 4 houses that were there that he had bought with the intention of trying to knock it down and put a gas station in. Because the property has to be dropped almost 20 feet to get it down to Route 47 level, which would put a retaining wall across the backside of the existing properties that are there right now. So I don't know what your intentions are for the rest of that property going in that area, if you were ever intending to do that, but that is all residential at this point, except for that one corner piece, which is still zoned residential.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to make a public comment? All right, hearing none, we will close public comment. Yes, Jada.
I'm just going to be kind of jumping topic to topic. I don't have a long speech prepared as I did before. And just for the record on that map that was just on there, I am on this side of that boundary agreement, which is also within the formally approved land use plan. So I just want to put that out there. I think the village learned a valuable lesson tonight. To not rush into approvals. This entire thing could have been avoided if the former village president didn't call a special meeting on April 23rd last year, in which I believe that it was improperly approved in the first place because the planning commission did not call the meeting properly for that. And going forward, I think that the village should not give developers special treatment and approve developments without engineering being completed. Why didn't the board do that for Brighton Ridge? Or why didn't you do it for Settlers Ridge? If I were them, I would be questioning you guys, what the heck? Why can't we get a jump start on our project? Now I'm gonna skip over to the Hankisburg Bridge and IDOT. As everybody's been saying on social media, this bridge has been this way in decline for probably longer than I've been alive. And it didn't get this bad in the 11 months that the village president has been in office. I think it takes a good leader to actually get something done, and if it takes going on social media to raise awareness, then that's what it takes. And first of all, I think you guys should maybe discuss the threats made, 1 by IDOT, but 2 by Metro West. Because why should Metro West, why should IDOT be threatening to withhold conversations with the 30-some plus other municipalities? I reached out to a couple different village presidents and trustees from villages that are within Metro West, and they said, what the heck? Metro West should be advocating for the good of all of their members. And I don't think Metro West is doing that. So I think you guys maybe should reconsider your membership, or maybe talk to some of the other members. Maybe it's the loud minority. We heard that one a lot during the election, didn't we? Maybe it's the loud minority that is against IDOT working with the village of Sugar Grove for some reason. I think we are working towards a solution. Who knows what that is gonna end up looking like? I guess there's that meeting tomorrow. But yeah, I just wanted to applaud President Stillwell for working on that, and I wanted to applaud Trustee London for coming up with the solution that shouldn't have needed a solution for, but thank you guys.
Thank you, Jana. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment? All right, hearing none, we will close public comment at this time. There are no discussion items this Administration.
Yeah, my report's in your packet, happy to answer any questions.
Karen Johns, Finance.
I have no changes from the report, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Danny Marion, Community Development.
I have nothing to add.
Thank you. Chief Rollins, Police. Thank you. Brad Merkel in Public Works.
I just wanted to give you guys a good update too. Yesterday we submitted for some more KCON projects for the grant money. And we're successful in getting Municipal and Galena on the 2030 program and Hankus in the 2031 program, the road portion, not the bridge. So I'll let
Thank you
know.
so much.
And that's for overlay or?
Resurfacing, yes. And then any ADA improvements too, which there are very few on those. So, well, actually Municipal and Galena there is, so, yeah.
And just,
On municipal Galena would just be a overlay?
They'll mill it
Oh,
overlay, yeah. It's getting pretty rough and
Is
it's probably too far to microsurface, so I
Oh.
thought it would probably score very high on the program and it did, so.
That's 15 years old.
Yeah. Well, so that's still another
16.
4 or 5 years out, so
Yeah.
it'll be ready by then.
17 years.
Yeah, we got a plan, so.
Okay.
and just to clarify, that's the Lauren Underwood funds that they gave us 5 days to apply for?
No.
This is,
Okay.
you wanna,
This is
so
the
take on this?
Kane Kendall Council of Mayors that gets money from the federal government.
Okay, got
We
it.
try
We got
and
another
get
federal
a
notice
couple of
the
these
other day.
projects every year,
Okay.
so, thank you.
To clarify, have we submitted?
Not yet, but we're working on it.
Thank you so much. All right, Trustee Levine.
I attended the library board meeting on the 25th. They're working, they're looking at doing some repairs on some pavers. There's early voting going on at the library. And that's about all I have right now. I have more information next time.
Thank you. Trustee London.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Trustee Special.
I attended the Illinois ACEC, which is an engineering group, and we received an award for the Blackberry Creek Bridge. There will be a presentation at a board meeting in the near future about that award.
Awesome. Thank you. Trustee Michaels.
I attended the State of the Region, which went off very well. I went to Metro West, and, talking to Metro West about the Hankus Bridge, they have a big picture items that they're trying to defend and represent down in Springfield. The Hankus Road is really a local issue that we need to fight. I typically don't condone going on social media, but we were at our wits' end, and I commend President Stillwell for doing it, because hopefully it's guilted IDOT into negotiating with the village. It has been, for the last 10 years at least, that we've been trying to get them to come to the table. They'll come to the table, throw up a bunch of agreements or non-agreements, and then walk away. And shame on them. It's a lot like ICE, where you can't hold anybody accountable. So this is, it's usually not the typical way, but it was a way to get, hopefully IDOT to come to the table, and hopefully we get some resolution, because the residents are tired of the red tape that's been going on to get this resolved. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you very much. And Trustee Bonnie.
Nothing to report.
President's report this evening. Briefly, there is a meeting with the township tomorrow. I hope it goes well. If it does, we do have a plan ready to go, so that we can hopefully make that bridge safer for residents. The chamber event, it was very nice. We got to hear from some community leaders. There are good things coming up this upcoming year. And then we're also, with the Beautification and Gardening Committee, continuing to work on a healing garden at Veterans Park. It'll go all the way up to the flag and around, and that'll be really nice. I think that is it. If we could have a motion and a second to adjourn this meeting and enter executive session.
I'll make that motion.
We have a first from Trustee Michaels. Is there a second?
I'll make the second.
And we have a second from trustee London.
Just to clarify, we're going to enter executive session and then adjourn immediately after, so there will be no more open session or business that takes place after this executive session.
Thank you. And if we could have roll call, please, Mary.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee London.
Aye.
Trustee Lundy.
Aye.
Trustee Special.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it, and we will enter executive session at this time and adjourn the meeting after.